what's inside of you. She's some kind of demon that's in the through. If you don't watch out, it'll stick to you, to you. What kind of fool are you? Strange brew, killing what's inside of you.
Of course, starting off the show pretty good with Cream's first song on their second album, I believe. But yes, this is the first ever live radio show of Dirty Dick Dan. I'm your host. Well, Dirty Dick Dan, call me Dirty, call me Dick, call me Dan. I don't really care. Call me DDD. Just enjoy the fucking show because that's what I want to do. Is I just want to entertain with music and of course my beautiful commentary as any radio show could do. Anyways, since it's the first show of my new radio career, I feel like we should talk a little bit about how this shit is going to go. So I plan on doing these streams about maybe Monday to Thursday and maybe special cases on Friday because usually on Friday I don't have access to my equipment. But if I do, then that means a late show on Friday. The times will usually be around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. and they may last to 10, 11, or maybe even 12. Maybe past that. Maybe when I do a weekend show, we'll go all night. Who the fuck cares? Second of all, of course, radio station with my commentary. Radio station. What do you think of when you hear radio station? Well, you obviously think of, well, music. So yes, we will be breaking several copyright laws, even though I'm not making any money off of this by playing music. And as you already heard, we started off with a Cream song. And of course, we'll be switching through several different songs as the night goes on. But anyways, it is of course February 6th, 8:22 p.m. and of course it's a Thursday. It's nice and fucking snowy outside. It's gonna be going on until about Saturday here in beautiful old fucking Canada. Doesn't matter whether you're in the north or in the south, you're gonna be hit by a little bit of fucking God's come. But that's not the point. We're not supposed to be talking about the weather. I'm not a weatherman. I'm a fucking guy on a show called Dirty Dick Dan. I am, of course, Dirty Dick Dan. So, even though I have no viewers out there yet, hopefully over time we will get viewers. And hopefully over time we will get people who will actively try and chat. But anyways, that's basically just me right now. So, anyone who comes across this, how the fuck are you? How is your dick? How is your pussy? How are you doing in the boyfriend-girlfriend department? Are you married? I don't know. I'm expecting teenagers to come on here, but I could be expecting anyone else in the market because this is YouTube after all. Now, as aforementioned by the colorful image that is, of course, my station's or channel's banner art and is the art that you see when listening to the station, things are quite psychedelic, that is because one of my mainstays of music is the 60s. Psychedelic, obviously. But, it doesn't mean I won't criticize the 60s, because one of my aforementioned talents is criticizing things that happened in the past when I wasn't alive. But I can't really speak because, teenagers, you gotta pull out the aforementioned what I call age card, teenagers, they're not allowed to have opinions because they're teenagers when a lot of us are pretty smart. If past mistakes could be thanked for giving us something good, it is evolving the brains of teenagers. Because for all the retards that I see walking around the halls, I know at least, for every retard, I know at least 10 smart, intelligent people who can have an intellectual conversation with me about naturally anything on the fucking planet. But, of course, there are going to be those jackass retards who don't know when to shut the fuck up. But that's not the point. The point is we're supposed to be looking on the bright side of things. So, why not talk about the 60s? Let's talk about the good parts of the 60s before we get to the bad part of the 60s. So yes, psychedelics, drugs, the hippie movement, things like Woodstock, artists like Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, the Rolling Stones, and of course the Beatles, one of my aforementioned favorites, The Doors. The Doors. The Doors. We can't forget about Cream, and Deep Purple, and any other band that came along in the 60s to really rock the world. Now, when speaking about the 60s, you have to look at it in two different ways. There's the early 60s and there's the later half of the 60s. Because the early 60s was riding off of the 50s, and the 50s was black and white TV shows, Dennis the Menace, and fucking whatever else was on TV. You know, that watered down shit before we really got to the good changing part of society, which was the late psychedelic 60s. And through that, we saw an evolving society in Hollywood, in the music industry, in books, in artists. We got people like Andy Warhol growing to such heights with his paintings. We had filmmakers like Roman Polanski. And of course, we had artists like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and the Doors coming in to really shake up the world of music. And just to shake up the world in general. These were not easy people to deal with. Of course, it was a fun time. People were doing acid, which was legal at the time. We're smoking a bunch of weed, and of course, we're having a pretty fucking good time with their flower hats and fucking a bunch of people, because you know what? Love was supposed to be better than war. Look where that got the hippies. They failed. I'm not saying it's the hippies' fault for why the movement failed. Of course, we had things like Charles Manson and a bunch of other bullshit that happened to really ruin the movement. And looking at the 60s, you know, I think most people now would become hippies. You know, look around, I'd be able to point at someone in my fucking hall and be like, yep, I could see that person being a hippie. And then I look at some person, I'd be like, yep, I can see them being a deranged American soldier in Vietnam. Which is the second point of the late 60s, and of course the early first half of the 70s. The Vietnam War, the bad side of the 60s, the relentless stupidity of the states to start another war with a country that they didn't have any real fucking involvement with. And of course that started one of the most controversial wars of its time, and of course it made history in being one of the most pointless wars of its time. Of course I'm not American, but doesn't mean I can't criticize the war. Doesn't mean I can't criticize anything. But we're going to take a little bit of a break from my commentary, as we are already reaching 10 minutes in the first show. So, without further ado, I think we're going to scroll through some music. I think we're going to play a Doors song. So, without further ado, we're going to start off with the first song they ever made, Break On Through to the Other Side, on their first album, The Doors. Enjoy.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here, I found an island in your arms, country in your eyes. Arms are chainless, eyes are lined. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through. Oh, oh yeah. Made to see, week to week, day to day, hour to hour. Paid is straight, deep and wide. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through, break on through, break on through, break on through. Hey, 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 hey.
Great song, great song. A truly great way to start off a career in an album. Of course, I'm not supposed to be reviewing music, but I can talk about it in a certain level. Why not talk about, instead of talking about 60s, why not talk about today? 2020. 20 fucking 20. Jesus Christ. Can you believe that shit? I can't. New fucking decade. Doesn't feel any different. Still feels about the fucking same. Oscars are coming up on Sunday. Of course, biggest award show of all time. And who's going to win the biggest awards? It'll be Joker, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, Marriage Story, 1917, any other films that were nominated for Oscars that I haven't pinpointed yet, or that I don't care about, or haven't seen. That's true. That's completely true. Why not talk about how fucked up things are now? Yeah. It's definitely something on my bucket list that I can talk about for hours and hours on end. Kind of why I wanted to start this radio show to begin with, was to have an open discussion with basically no one about certain things. Have an open discussion about problems, or I don't know, maybe do a radio show, smoke a joint, play some video games, and get silly. Do anything you want. You know, being so open about this because of the nature of the show, so why not talk about it? So pot, weed, the devil's grass, marijuana, you know, that cool thing that you all smoke with your friends when you just want to have fun. I love it as much as the next fucking pothead out there. Who doesn't? Who doesn't love when you can just roll a joint or smoke out of a bong and you pull out your pipe and just take a few puffs? Have a bunch of fun. Of course, you know, you have a bunch of sticklers out there who just, you know, frown upon you for it. Thanks, Reagan. Thank you so fucking much for that bullshit to get you in office. Uh, but yeah, pot is definitely probably one of the most accessible drugs and one of the most safe drugs of all time. I mean, it's practically just impossible to die from it, you know. Yeah. Of course, here in Canada, it's completely legal. So, if you ever wanted to, you know, go somewhere, roll a joint, start puffing away, come to Canada. Come to the fucking place where we all live in igloos and freeze our asses off because we have daily snowstorms. No, that's not how Canada is. And no, you can't just go into a restaurant and roll a joint and fucking light it. No, no, no. It's different than that. But the fact of the matter is, it's legal. Whereas in the States, it's certain states that legalize it. Which always perplexed me, you know. It's always perplexed me is why have cigarettes been a commodity for 100 years? I think more than 100 years, actually. I don't know, I may be wrong. And those have not been banned at all, despite, you know, serious death tolls being attributed to it. But it took so many years to have pot legalized. It's like, isn't that a little bit odd? How many people have died from smoking cigarettes or have died from secondhand cigarette smoke, and those are still, you know, available? Now, get me on this. I know it would take a lot of time to dwindle those down because you permanently ban them right away, and then all these companies who are making cigarettes, they lose a bunch of their profit because their main product has gone down the shitter. Now, of course, we have vaping, aka the stupider form of smoking. I won't deny. I'm an ex-smoker. Sometimes I fiend for it. Maybe sometime in the future I'll have one just as a social gathering. I know it hurts me, but the thing is, I know how to stop myself from doing it. When you don't have access to it, you're all good. If you're able to just go cold turkey like I did, that's great. I mean, it's not a pleasant thing, but I see the appeal to it. Now you get this fucking vaping shit, and you're fucking vaporizing water, and then, like, where's the fun? Where is the fun in vaping? Well, you can do tricks. Well, good on you. You can do tricks. The whole point of smoking was to inhale and exhale. It's kind of like that old phrase, stop playing with your dinner, or you know when kids play around with their dinner. It has one function, for you to put that shit in your mouth and to chew it. Cigarettes had one function, for you to put that in your mouth, light it, inhale, and exhale. With vaping now, it's inhale and then play around with it as you exhale. That's incredibly fucking good for you. But it takes all the fun out of it. Compare it to smoking, and it's like, where's the fun in putting it in your mouth and lighting it with lighting it with the lighter, especially the Zippos. Those are really fun. Where's the fun? The fun's all gone. Sucks. It really does. But I guess that's just how we evolve. We get a lot more boring over time. But anyways, enough of me ranting about cigarettes versus vaping, which are both technically bad, but if you want to go ahead and do it, then do it. I ain't stopping you. It's up to you. I could try and, convince you not to, but I don't want to be that kind of person because I know it's just all futile in the end because everyone's got to try it at least some point. We're going to play another Doors song. This time we are going to play their classic tune that got them on the Billboard 100, I believe, Light My Fire, which is not only a staple of the band in the Time era, but no, that's just what it is, a staple of the band in the Time era, but it's just got that endless sound. So without further ado, I bless you with the Doors' Light My Fire.
That it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. The time to hesitate is through. No time to wallow in the mire. Try now, we can only lose. and our love become a funeral pyre. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. The time to hesitate is through. No time to wallow in the mire. Try now, we can only lose, and our love become a funeral pyre. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire. Yeah. You know that it will be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on 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 fire.
Very good. Very, very good tune. Fantastic. One of my favorites, especially. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's well, it's definitely Morrison's words. He's a real good poet and songwriter. I think everything just comes together. I see it like this. You have the Doors as a whole. Then you have 25%, which is Jim. 25%, which is Ray. 25%, which is Robbie. And 25%, which is John. You lose one of them, and you only have 75% of the Doors. And then it kind of doesn't work. And then you lose another 25%, and then it really kind of doesn't work. Not saying that you can't make something work without the quintessential members of the Doors. Unfortunately, we've lost two of them, Jim in 1971 and Ray in 2013. But for a long time, Ray Manzarek and Robbie Krieger went touring, just the two of them, and a few other people to fill in for Jim, and John Densmore, the drummer, because John wasn't really getting into all the band stuff after Jim's passing and after they did the Poetry album. So basically, for a long time, it was basically just 50% of the Doors and some other people. More specifically, Ian Ziering from the Cult. But enough on the history of the Doors. Let's get back into our conversations. So, where was I before? Oh yeah, vaping versus smoking. I think I got my point across there. Vaping's stupid. It ruins all the fun of smoking. Both are bad. Do it at your own discretion. I don't really care. If you die, you die. It's a natural part of life. You're just speeding up the process. Now, let's talk problems. Everyone has problems. A lot of problems. So, why not 30 minutes in to the first ever show that Dirty Dick Dan has done? Let's talk about problems. To anyone out there who may be listening in the near future, because I know nobody's going to be listening right now, your problems do matter. They matter a lot. See, problems are all equal in the world. I think everyone has to learn that at a certain point. Some starving child in Africa's problems are just as important as a well-off, businessman's problems with his mental health. They're just as important. Enough of this bullshit where, that's more important over there than this over here, because everyone's problems are important, because in doing that, or saying that, and saying somebody else's problems matter more than somebody else's problems, you get this kind of idea into people's minds. And they think, well, I don't really want to get help, or I don't think I should get help, because my problems don't matter, because there are other people out there who have it worse than me. Let me say this, and I'll probably say this in another show in the near future, but Let me say this right now. When someone says, look at it this way, somebody else has it worse than you, fuck the words. Not fuck the person, because the person can be genuinely good at everything else and consoling you and everything else, but fuck those words. Because in saying that, you're implying to the person who you're talking to that their problems aren't as important as somebody else's. Because in saying that somebody else has it worse than you, then it makes you think, oh, well, I'm overreacting. Oh, yeah, I'm sitting there crying myself to sleep every night, thinking about, trying to end my own life because it's not worth living. When you're to the point, even when you're not to the point, when you feel constantly down, even when you're not to that point where you want to end your own life, which is a very serious thing, holy shit, your problems are so important. Everyone's problems are as important. It's just up to the people to see it as if it's less important or more important than somebody else's problems. Which the thing is, everybody's problems are equal. They matter as much as somebody else's problems, but people, just individual people, don't see it that way. They see it as somebody else's problems are more important than another person's problems. And you hear this a lot when you have problems. Always put yourself before everybody else. Now, that's an agreeable statement, because if you're not good, then how are you going to be good to help them? Well, as much as therapists, psychiatrists, and your own parents would say that's not very good for you to do. And maybe they're right. But as old Dirty Dick Dan over here has to say, others are as important as you, maybe even more important. Now, I'm not saying help as many people as you can, and then when you're to that point, you just end your own life, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if your friends aren't there, who's going to help you? And if you aren't there, who's going to help them? Because if you're that type of person who rushes and goes to the rescue like fucking Superman in their car, or just running over to a certain place to check on someone because you're super worried about them, that's a really courageous thing to do. And you should be proud of yourself. And even if your friends don't do the same for you, even if they just sit on you with the phone and calm you down from trying to end your own life, that's a courageous thing as well. Because it's not about, oh, well, I went there and helped you, now you owe me the favor. No, that's not what it's about. It's about making sure that the people you love, whether it's like a family member or a friend or boyfriend or a girlfriend, it's important to help them. Because they matter. You matter to them as much as they matter to you. And if one of them is gone, then you kind of lose a part of yourself. And losing a part of yourself is not very fun. So yeah, I do kind of recommend helping others in an equal way to yourself. But if you're anything like me, you kind of put others before yourself. And even though many people have told me that's a dangerous thing, I just kind of don't listen to that one thing that they tell me not to do. Because I care and I help. Oh. Anyways, moving away from that mushy bullshit, let's talk about fun stuff. Yes, that's right. Fun stuff. I know. Yeah. I'm basically carrying the show right now. But hopefully, once I get viewers, maybe I'll be able to get some stories out of them. Who knows? But let's talk about let's talk about people. You know, being in high school, you meet a lot of people, a lot of friends. And frankly, some people may think it's a little bit hard to manage all them. I find some time to manage everyone. I'm surprised I'm able to do it, managing everyone and managing myself. But let's talk about more people. There are a lot of pricks. And we're not going to lie, there are a lot of goddamn pricks. And, of course, nobody likes a prick. Because if you did like a prick, then I guess you're kind of like a stupid cunt then. But to be honest, nobody likes a prick. Nobody likes an asshole. Nobody likes a son of a bitch. Nobody likes a cunt. Nobody likes fucking anything that annoys the shit out of them. Nobody likes I'm trying to refrain from using the word asshole because I already used it, but nobody likes an asshole. Nobody likes a fucking stupid human who just tries to fucking insult anyone else. I actually haven't seen this prick in the halls in a while, but I saw him a lot earlier in the year because he was in one of my classes. Oh, the most annoying prick ever. Like, whew, god damn. Tall bastard, too. Just kind of slouched all the time. Seemed like he was high a lot, kind of stupid. But, yeah. We go through the year, or the first half of the year, dealing with him. Everything's alright. And then everything's almost coming to an end, and then this prick crosses the line in a certain way that pisses me and a few buddies off. So we had to kind of watch him. We had to make sure he didn't do this again. He didn't until we let our guard down. And then it ultra pissed me off, and I came just the tiniest bit close to beating the shit out of him. Of course, I didn't. I wasn't given enough time to really build myself up to really go over there and beat the fuck out of him, but that's not the point. The point is, let me talk about the argument that violence is not the answer. It's not. It really isn't. Wars are retarded as shit. People die because, stupid fucking people who think they're so high and mighty can't negotiate. Now, in certain instances, war just kind of happens naturally. Hitler, there's no way you probably could have negotiated with that guy. Like, goddamn, no way those Jews were getting out of getting killed. But when in the idea of a high school, gotta think of it like this. When there are those types of pricks who don't listen and continue to do it, there's only really one way to really give them the message, and it's the most blatant way possible. More blatant than saying, hey, stop being a prick. And yes, it is beating them the fuck up. Now, I'm not inciting violence. I'm just saying the ideology of a regular teenager. Or actually a smart teenager, technically. Because a smart teenager would try and do everything that's non-violent. But when all that shit doesn't work, then you're gonna mostly take the violent option because it's probably the only option that's gonna work. Of course, it's not the option that they want you to do. And yeah, apparently here in Canada, you can get arrested if you get in a fight and you're like a teenager. And again, I gives a fuck. Yeah, I go to juvie for one fucking day, or I got a little talking to by a police officer. Again, it goes with the idea that you're trying to help a friend. If this is what it takes to help a friend, then fucking go right ahead. Again, not inciting violence, just saying, This is a blatant smart ideology of smart teenagers. But enough of talking about pricks and dicks and cunts and cocks, even though my name is Dirty Dick Dan. Let's get back to the tunes. Let's try and pick a little bit of a longer song this time. Let me play 2 songs, actually. Looking through the library, just trying to see what we got on deck. Now, that one's a little bit long, but then it leads into a few other songs, but maybe we'll save that for later. Yeah, just going through the library right now, trying to see what we could play. Do a little bit of Alright, up next we have 2 songs from the Velvet Underground, the band that really started Lou Reed's career before he was, well, Lou Reed the solo act. So we're going to play 2 songs from their first album, incredibly titled The Velvet Underground and Nico. We're going to play... Actually, we will play... Now, sorry, I'm just trying to decide on the fly. We'll play the 4th track, Venus and Furs, and then we'll play the 5th track, Run, Run, Run. And then we'll get back to talking. So it's about maybe 9.5 minutes in total between the 2 songs. So enjoy 2 of my favorite tunes from this wonderfully weird band.
Child in the dark comes in bells. Your servant, don't forsake him. Strike, dear mistress, and cure his heart. Fancies, chase the costumes she shall wear. Ermine furs adorn imperious. Severin, Severin awaits you there. Sleep for 1,000 years, 1,000 dreams that would awake me. Different colors made of tears. Kiss the boot of shiny, shiny leather. Shiny leather in the dark. Tongue the thongs, the belt that does await you. Strike, dear mistress, and cure his heart. Severin, Severin, speak so slightly. Severin, down on your bended knee. even lightly. Taste the whip, now bleed for me. Sleep for 1,000 years, 1,000 dreams that would awake me. Different colors made of tears. Shiny, shiny, shiny boots of leather. Whiplash girl, child in the dark. Severin, your servant, comes and bells. Please don't forsake him. Strike, dear mistress, and cure his heart.
Teenage Mary said to Uncle Dave, I sold my soul, must be saved. Gonna take a walk down Union Square. You never know who you're gonna find there. You gotta run, 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 run. Take the jacket too. Run, 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 run. Gypsy death in you. Tell you what to do. Margarita Passion, they had to get her fixed. She wasn't well, she was getting sick. Went to sell her soul, she wasn't high. Didn't know, think she could buy it. She would run, 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 run. Take the jacket too. Run, 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 run. Gypsy death in you. Tell you what to do. Sarah had a golden nose, hobnail boots wrapped around her toes. When she turned blue, all the angels screamed. They didn't know, they couldn't make her sing. She had a run, 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 run. Take a jacket too. Run, 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 run. Gypsy death in you. Tell you what to do. Needless Harry, what a waste. Couldn't even get, say, small town taste. Rode the trolleys down to 47. Figured if he was good, he'd get himself to heaven. Cause that run, 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 take a deck or two. Run, 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 gypsy death in you. Tell you what you do.
Well, that was Venus and Furs and Run, Run, Fucking Run. Velvet Underground was a band produced originally by the legendary painter Andy Warhol, who made the famous image on the first album they ever made, which is probably one of their best album covers. I'd compare it to the final album with Lou Reed, which was fuck. How did I forget the fucking name? I can't believe I did. What was the final album called? Loaded. The first album cover and the last album cover with Lou Reed are kind of really the ones that are the best. Not knocking on the other ones, they're just not as creative. And of course there was the Filth album Squeeze that was basically made and recorded by one guy, because after Lou Reed left, everyone else left after they did the Loaded tour, I believe. But enough of the history of the Velvet Underground. Let's get back into conversations. Well, where does this lead us to now? I wonder. Not trying to go too dark, but well, you know, why not? You ever want to hear the sound of Dirty Dick Dan jerking his dirty dick off? It's a starter noise, okay? Don't worry, I got a silent Pornhub tab open. Don't worry, I got the shit prepared, okay? Oh. 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 Do you guys just any preferences? Do you guys like oh, I can't even speak. I gotta stop living. You guys like that step family shit, you know, where they have like stepson, stepmom, stepdad, stepdaughter, stepbro, stepsister. I don't know. Strangely attracted to you. Oh, 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 oh. Come on. I feel it coming. I feel it coming. I feel it coming. I feel it coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Oh. Oh. Don't you just feel ashamed after you jerk off? Oh, gotta wipe off all that fucking cum that's 10 feet high. I'm surprised it didn't get splashed in the face. Clean myself up and then put back on pants. Because you gotta pride yourself on, you know. Just doing that right in the first live show, but who gives a shit? We're breaking copyright laws. Let's have a little bit of fun before we get shut down. Now, when speaking about certain matters, actually, let's talk about this ongoing strike in our Ontario schools. Very interesting. Narrowing down the field view of where Dirty Dick Dan lives. Oh my god. Well, this strike. Let me think about this strike. Well, I ultimately think it's fun. More days off because the teachers want more money. It's very nice. Okay? It's very, very, very nice. Mwah. Getting them days off. But at a certain point, it becomes a little bit excessive. I think we've had maybe 2 or 3 strike days. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that if you actually go to any of these fucking schools in the first place. But at this point, they haven't gotten too excessive. But I say but a lot, I know. The thing is, I feel like it's just a back and forth situation. We had this problem earlier in the year when the janitors were striking, but that shit got resolved really quickly. Like, really, really quickly. And the janitors went back to doing their jobs, cleaning the halls of people who are probably chooching and maybe even throwing shit on the walls. I don't know. We're all a bunch of fucking monkeys, to be honest. But when is this teacher strike gonna end? Well, first of all, other schools are affected more than other ones. The Catholic boards, along with the district school boards, but only the secondary schools, only have one day of a strike, which is Tuesday. Now, the elementary schools for the district school board, they have not only Tuesday, but they had this day, and apparently tomorrow they have off. Like what the are you, like this, fucking seriously? Yeah, for those kids, it's a big problem because that's a lot of days of school they're missing. Now, you can have your opinions on school. I have my opinions on school. Certainly, some things they teach you are pointless. Certainly, some things they teach you are important. Education is important overall. You need it. Doesn't mean there aren't a few bad eggs in the education system. Of course, this is representative of one of the huge flaws in the education system. Of course, teachers apparently aren't happy. They ain't getting paid enough. And being honest, if you ain't getting paid enough, fair on that. I don't know how much teachers get paid, but they certainly don't get paid, I don't know, maybe $200,000 a year. I don't even know if they come close to 100,000. Maybe not even close to 50,000. But for people who do have to deal with a lot of students in one day and have to teach things, a bunch of shit in one day, I do think a fair pay is needed. And for those who don't get a fair pay, I guess that's why these strikes are indeed going on, then fight for it. I'm all for fighting for things. Fighting for things that are fair, I think everyone, fighting for things is great. Fighting for women fighting for rights to do more than just be in the kitchen and be in the household and actually get the right to vote, that's great. Black people fighting for their rights in the 60s and civil rights movement, that's great. Because it unified people. Because no matter what the subject may be, no matter what your opinion is on it, whether it's good or bad, when people are fighting for something that they care about, they're brought together. Now, let's take into factor that they're fighting for a better pay. And they're fighting for it in a fair and genuine way. It's not so extreme that it's like, oh god damn, these people are crazy. No, you're just missing a few fucking days of school. Of course the kids are gonna fucking love it. Because they're getting off of fucking school. No one wants to fucking go to school. They hear about the strike day and then they're like, oh fuck, I can stay up all night and do whatever the fuck I want. I can go out, smoke some pot, do anything I want to fucking do, because that's what specifically teenagers want to do. They want to do something that's not school. And sure, they'll get bored at a point and they'll want to go back because, being honest, like, school, it's good for one thing. It gets you in a fucking routine. Like, be honest, later, like, in the later half of the summer, don't you just get fucking bored? People are doing other things and you're like, with school, I actually got to see a lot of people, got to talk to them, and I had an actual schedule. And then you get on that fucking schedule and you're like, well, shit. I feel a little bit more fulfilled. Anyways, kind of off topic. But they're fighting for it in a fair and genuine way. They're being unified together for a cause that they all care about. Now, for some reason, Of course, these negotiations aren't really going as well as they wanted to go, because we're still fucking doing this. We're still having people going outside picketing with signs, in the cold, wanting their pay. And of course, the government isn't stepping in, nobody's stepping in. They're still negotiating this shit. And I can only imagine what negotiations are like. You have these people who are just asking up in front for something, for a fucking pay raise. Like, come on, just give them the fucking pay raise. They're gonna hurt you too much. And then you got the assholes who are negotiating with them, who are probably turning it down, and they're just gonna have to up the ante. Because then, with upping the ante, instead of maybe just a day for like an entire school board and half of the school board, then they're gonna up it to like a week. It's like, oh, we're not going to teach for a week. Well, shit, that's a week at a school for students, and they're missing their lessons. They're missing a bunch of shit that they need to get for tests and shit like that. And for high school, final exams. And when you miss something for final exams, you may be fucked in that sector. But imagine that if they have to go drastic enough to be off for a week, you know how far that can set back people? You gotta have a week's worth of shit for you on the desk, and then maybe they'll have to go a little bit more drastic. 2 weeks off. I know I'm going a little bit far on this, but this can happen. This can't happen if things aren't negotiated correctly. The people are unified together so much that they will go to such lengths to get that pay raise. And sure, if it goes to that, that's going a little bit far. But is it really their faults that they haven't reached they don't want to do this necessarily. They don't want to put the students in jeopardy of their learning, but they also want to be able to provide for a fucking family. Let's be honest here. It's more or less the fault of the people who they're negotiating with, who aren't fucking trying to find middle ground. Like that's the problem. Once they find middle ground, then it's over and done with. Everyone's back in there. But if it goes to something where they can't find a middle ground because those fuckers don't want to find a middle ground, they have to be off, picketing for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Yeah, that's gonna jeopardize the students, and teachers are gonna hate it. But they're fighting for something, and they know if they don't fight, then it's like, well, then you're basically picking sides at that point. You can't be on the fence. Or you can be on the fence, but in certain situations like this, no one thinks that a fence exists, even though it technically does in every situation possible. Of course, it's just a Dirty Dick Dan on his rant about that shit. I remember back in my elementary school, which is kind of like middle school, kind of like half. It's kind of like whatever. Back in my elementary school, I forget what grade it was. Maybe in a six to 8 range. It wasn't 8, maybe 7, maybe 6. They were doing these strike things. This is where my week calculation comes into play, because we were off for a fucking week because they were picketing outside for a week. And here's the funny thing: we were actually in danger of losing another week of school. And it makes me laugh because I know firsthand that they can go for more than just a fucking week. And I have a feeling that they might go for a week if they don't do the public elementary schools basically had 1 day of school. Like 1 day of school, because I believe they had Monday off as well. Like, what the fucking Jesus Christ? They got some drastic shit for just the elementary schools of the district school board. As far as secondary district school boards didn't do that. Or secondary schools in the district school board didn't do that, but they're with the Catholics. They don't want to be in that. We're missing a week shit. And I have not met a teacher that I don't like. And the amount of teachers I've had so far, I like them all. Got no problems with. I mean, I'm gonna have problems with them here and there, but here's the thing: if teachers are humans, sometimes there are those teachers who try not to be human and are kind of assholes, or really assholes. There will be those ones, and sometimes you shouldn't have to take their shit. But usually, teachers are pretty good, or at least the ones I've, come across. And you know what? If they can fucking get their pay raise, good on them. But do it quickly. I'm getting a little bit tired of this shit. I feel kind of dirty for staying home, instead of going to school. It's really like a snow day. I get it. Yeah, snow's out there. PA day. I get it. But I mean, like, you're picketing outside. It just doesn't feel legit. I mean, day off's a day off. I love day offs, but I don't know. It just makes me feel kind of dirty that I'm doing that. But enough on the strike conversation about the schools, because it's talking about school. Let's get back to music. You always got to intersect what good old dipshit over here is saying. Okay, I think we're gonna do some Black Sabbath next. We're gonna do 3 songs in consecutive order. I think they'll be well over 10 minutes. Just let me calculate it, because I'm not good at mental math. Obviously, my name is Dirty Dick Dan, so I mean, the only good thing I must be at is whacking my dirty dick off. But okay, these 3 songs in total are going to be 12 minutes and 32 seconds long. So for the next 12 minutes and 32 seconds, enjoy Paranoid, Planet Caravan, and Iron Man. And I'll be back after all 3 songs are done. So enjoy.
People think I'm insane because I am frowning all the time.
Well, that was an amazing 12 fucking minutes and 32 seconds with three of the best Black Sabbath songs. Now, Paranoid and Iron Man definitely get a lot of praise. I love all three. I can't pick a favorite, but I definitely love Planet Caravan a lot as a soft, kind of slow song that you can really listen to at any time, in the dark, when you're down, when you want to relax. Because it's not loud. It's nice and quiet. It's got a great guitar solo that's nice and just soft. Gotta love Planet Caravan. Doesn't get enough attention, really, in my opinion. But well, just as a heads up to no one, because nobody is watching, we are nearing the end of the first live show of Dirty Dick Dan. And of course, you gotta always end a show off with a song and then, a little closing thing. So yeah, there's no discussion period between the Black Sabbath songs and our next and last tune of the night. Maybe a running last tune, I don't know. This one is kind of a tie of running last tune between itself and The End by The Doors. But I figured since, it's the first show, I'm not going to really end it with a super long song like The End, which is 11 minutes. This one's only about 4 minutes. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. This is Summertime by Big Brother and the Holding Company, which, if you don't know, is the band that Janis Joplin was in before she went solo, and this is on the last album she did with the band. This is definitely one of the best songs on the album, and probably my favorite song on the album. So without further ado, here's the somber song Summertime by Big Brother and the Holding Company.
Fish are jumping out. Hey, the cotton Lord, cotton's high. Lord's high. Your dollar's rich, and your mom's so good looking, babe. She's looking good now. Hush, baby, 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 baby. No, 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 don't you cry. Don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise. Spread your wings, shout and take to the sky, along the sky, until the morning, honey. Nothing's going to harm you now. Na 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 na. Don't you cry.
Truly a song that is definitely commanded by Janis Joplin and is helped out by the great guitar solos. A very somber song, a song that I kind of deem sad, but I guess it's personal opinion not to get too sappy with this bullshit. But yeah, that's the end of the first show. And even though no one's watching, I hope that there will be people in the future. So good night, sleep tight. Don't let your stepmom come and suck you off in the night. And remember these last few words. So be it. Good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.